The most deadly weapons of all time are getting a makeover as modern technology puts a new spin on the ancient past. Chad Hauschnick leads the way, 1 part engineer and 2 parts mad scientist. Historian Mike Lodes explores these weapons' time and place before putting Chad's creations to the test. Move over, Gladiator. It's Chadiator. This week, Chad pimps his chariot ride to smooth out the bumps and build a super stabilized chariot bow.
Hello? Morning. Well, I hear him. Right? Anybody home?
Why don't you put that helmet on?
All right.
Not so much for safety, because I know you like hats.
Permission to come aboard.
Come on, hop on, I'm not waiting for you. I'll slow a bit. Come on, I've got something to show you. You on board?
Wow.
So this is the challenge of the week.
Okay, you need me to build a chariot.
Well, not exactly. You see that?
Yeah?
Well, it's a bow.
Yeah?
1500 BC.
Okay.
The chariot, the bow, and the horse were introduced into Egypt. Unlike this heavy, all-metal modern version that we're using today, ancient chariots were extremely lightweight, made from bentwood technology and hides. They were not tanks. They were hit-and-run speed machines. Their function was simply to make the archer mobile. They had an exceptionally wide wheelbase, giving great stability and allowing the tightest of turns. And their proportions are completely different. They wouldn't be as deep as this.
Okay.
In fact, the platform's only that wide.
So they would have been side by side.
Yes, so it's this wide, it's that deep, and twice as wide, so they're side by side. The real challenge is how quickly you can reload your bow. Come on, we're getting close, we're getting close. You've got to get that thing on the string. Because for every yard that you're fumbling about, that's shots you could be getting off.
That is not easy.
It's not, is it? Let me show you how these things are used in battle.
Okay.
Come over to my sand table. This is my sand table, so that's blocks of infantry.
Okay.
And these are representing my chariots.
Okay.
Now, the job is to get the archers in range to shoot. Obviously, I could ride into there and trample these 2 guys.
Right.
But having trampled 2, maybe 4 guys, the horse is really slowing. These guys, exactly, pikes, spears, dead horse, chariot, driver, archer, hauled off, dead. Nor can you run your chariots along the line like this, shooting, because look at the soft flanks of the horse.
Right.
What they do is they do what I call a wheeling charge. So they run at the enemy, wheel in a tight turn, and come back. So we get this wheeling charge, shooting at the enemy all the way. I think it's no coincidence that for Roman chariot racing, their arenas are this shape.
Right, they're quite oblong.
Very oblong with that tight turn. So that's the deal. How many arrows can you drop into there? Now, these bows can shoot 180 yards.
Right.
By the way, let's have an army.
That's a nice trick. How did you do that?
You could watch and wonder. I'm going to get Tommy to drive. Obviously, we haven't got 250 yards here.
No,
we got
maybe 60.
So this is going to be less than a third of what is possible, but let's see what we can do.
All right.
How about that? And you imagine what would be happening. They would be doing this in squadrons.
Squadrons?
Yeah.
Pray tell.
I would say 10 horses in a loop.
Gotcha.
So maybe a 300-yard loop. So back here they're recharging with arrows, etc.
Right.
There we go. We can make it. There's your wheeling charge. Now, what's important is this guy is shooting over
the head, so he's not...
Yeah. That's the deal of the wheeling charge.
Okay.
Chariots were the cutting edge of Egypt's armies, enabling them to conquer the Nile Valley and then expand north into Asia Minor, where in 1274 BC, Ramses II's chariot squadrons came face to face with another great chariot empire, the Hittites. The Battle of Kadesh was a chariot battle which saw an estimated 5,000 chariots wheeling in the dust, vying for advantage. Both sides claimed the victory. What I want you to do is build me a weapons system, chariot and bow. So improve that ancient technology. Meanwhile, we have some modern technology. We have a plane to catch.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, back to DC.
So the real challenge here, and where I think I'll concentrate my design efforts, is on the bow half of the chariot bow weapon system. Because I'm reasonably certain that Washington, D.C. has a thriving used chariot market.
You know, I'm glad I'm not a Hittitian war steed. Well, this is not going to work. Welder ahoy! Hey, Timmy.
What in the world? Where did you get that?
Well, I was down at the Chariot Palace, and they were having a special. I almost lost it there.
This thing is huge.
Well, you know, I'm figuring that we got room for a sleeping berth downstairs, put a grandma shack up here, maybe a microwave oven.
I like it. You could get a card table, a couple chairs.
Television, probably get a wireless internet connection.
Maybe an Arabian carpet.
That would be nice. Ooh, Arabian carpet. I like that.
Now, people think I'm dirty, and I might be a little bit disorderly, but I'm actually a fairly clean person, especially, you know, like in the kitchen, and just, you know, the fetid state of disrepair that this chariot, well, not disrepair, but it's just, you know, you can't vidi vici in a muddy chariot.
That is horrendous.
Rub-a-dub-dub, 3 chariot foes in a tub. You know?
That's what this shop was missing.
Okay, here's the first problem with the chariot. We've got the wrong color paintballs. The paintballs are orange, and you can't see them on the red chariot. Now, here's the first problem. There would have been a driver up here.
Yeah.
Here, you want to drive?
I'm not sure. Do I?
You want to be the bowman. Yeah!
So you're going like this, and then I'm banging into this thing constantly, and I'm knocking you in the head.
Right, you're knocking me in the head, and you're taller than me.
And this is all not good.
So it seems to me the first thing we want to do is take this puppy right here and yoink, and do this. Now you're no longer running into the sides of the chariot, but you're running into me.
Yeah.
I think we'll deal with me by sticking me in some type of motorized vehicle.
So we've seen how the chariot bow weapon system was the scourge of the ancient battlefield. Well, I've challenged Chad to improve on it.
So I've been working on the chariot bow. And I've been thinking, you know, what is the modern analog for the chariot bow? And it seems to me that the primary weapon system is the helicopter gunship. So I'm here at the home of the Flying Tigers, Fort Knox, to meet Chief Warrant Officer Chad Betts. Good morning, Chad.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Does that sound like I've got that about right?
That sure is. This is the Longbow Apache attack helicopter.
All right.
And you were talking about how the ancient chariots would take 20, 30, 40 of them and basically go into a wagon wheel. Well, we basically use 2. So we have 1 aircraft going inbound on the target, and as he turns out, the second one's coming outbound and turns in. And with our weapon system, we can off-axis. We can have a gun point at the target all the time.
So these are the eyeballs of your fire control system.
Right.
What's it controlling?
Well, if we were looking at a target right now, it would control this gun right here behind you. You're looking at the business end of the 30mm, and if the gunner was that gun, it would actually basically be pointed right at you is where it would be. We have a couple more systems back here in the back. This is a Hellfire missile. It's a precision laser-guided weapon system. As you see here, we have the eyeball.
Gotcha. So that's on a gimbal or something.
It is on a gimbal.
Okay.
Exactly. This is a 10-pound high-explosive warhead.
So I thought that, you know, this is obviously the arrow, and I thought that this was just the quiver, but it's more like a sort of combined quiver and bow.
That's right. We pull the trigger, the rocket pod will shoot this, and as it comes out of the tube here, I know the old arrows had feathers. We've got some fins on the back here that pop out, stabilize that rocket when we fire it.
Nice.
And helps increase the accuracy.
Cool.
We can talk about this all day long, so I'm going to set this right here. And we have one outside. We can go fire up. You can have a look at it.
Gentlemen, request permission to come aboard. To better demonstrate the weapon systems, the other Chad hands over controls of the Apache's guns.
The gun is moving.
Okay.
Okay, It's tracking with me.
Your head, it sure is.
Right.
That's a nice thing. One guy's flying, the other guy just descends.
So the pilot and gunner flying an Apache is quite similar to the archer and driver team on a chariot. Tell me, Mike, how did that work?
Ancient warfare was very much a chess game. Generals would spend a long time setting their troops up in formations. Now, say this general wants to move this infantry group over to here. Now, this is where the chariot can come in. It can frustrate that. The chariots can come in and cut these men off. So chariots can be used to control the battlefield. But of course, this army's got chariots too, so their other function is to fight the other chariots and stop them controlling the battlefield. How does chariot warfare work? Let me show you. The key to chariot versus chariot fighting is position. Chariot drivers would crisscross each other's path and jockey to get into the best position. And the archer would be constantly repositioning himself in the chariot to try and get that clear shot at the enemy or his horse. And one shot can bring the fight to a screeching halt. Excellent work. You okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tommy. Good job. Now, that was obviously a stunt, a gag. It's part of Tommy's spectacular show. We've seen how the chariot can control the battlefield with its mobility. We've seen how the wheeling charge can decimate great blocks of men. And we've seen chariot-to-chariot warfare. But there was another use for the chariot, and that's when the men are scattered in the rout, when they're running from the battlefield, isolated individuals. Then you can use the power and speed of the chariot to run them down, pick them off, and seal your victory.
Tim and I have been doing a little chariot modification, and I think we're about ready for a test drive.
This is phase 2 of the mechanical chariot.
All right, go.
A little slower.
Tab A, slot B. Slot B welded to plate C. Plate C welded onto tab B. Tab B into slot Q. Insert heavy-duty golf cart operating thing and drive away.
Here, why don't you drive for a minute and I'll see how it feels. All right, so now I'm gonna get a feel for it here and see what happens. Feels pretty good, Tim. All right, let's take her home and go back to the obstacle course. I mean, this is about as fast as a horse would go, don't you think? All right, now which way do you want to go? Here we go. Okay, so it's over there on the other side of the bridge. Gotcha. Where did you find this horse team?
We got these 3 ponies pulling Ramsey the second.
Oh, he's done.
So this is part of the test.
So you're gonna drive, and I'm gonna be in the back, and we're gonna test out some of these. What do we got here? We got the we got our standard sort of crossbow and our standard upright. Oh, this is the paintball toy, isn't it?
Paintball one.
Okay.
And I think what the main thing is to see how bumpy and unreasonable it is to shoot from this platform.
Right. I'll just bring it all.
I know. I'll gas tape you to the front of that thing.
All right, I'm ready. Hand me the first bow.
The chariot passed all its road tests, and now we've just got to determine the best bow to complete the system.
All right, well, loading this thing is obviously a problem. Go for it. Now, here's what I'm thinking. This is going to be a one-shot opportunity. I'm not going to get the opportunity to take multiple shots. Here comes the target. All right, I got to track him in, track him in, track him in. I'm bouncing all over the place. Oh, dead hit. Now, can I actually cock this and get off another round? I can't do it. Go. All right. Now, I'm going to try and take out a horse this time because the Pharaoh's already dead. Wow, the trajectory's really bad over here. Oh, Tim's going for the rough terrain. He's going for the rough terrain. Steady aim, man. Ah! I hit him, but the arrow bounced out of the target.
What's going on back there?
I was able to cock it, Tim, by doing this. Check this out. I was able to get both my feet up here like this and cock it. But this is obviously not the weapon for the chariot. All right, so I had a couple kill shots here, but I had way more many misses.
Yeah, looking up the building, you missed
there's
over
a couple
there,
up
down the ground.
And I think if it's going to be a crossbow of any kind, it's going to have to be that prototype repeater we made, because there's no way that I could have reset that. I mean, I've heard they've got off as many as 10 rounds in a wheeling charge.
Well, I think we can figure out something pretty cool to do with this. Something that smooths it, stabilizes it, points it, I don't know.
I'm thinking like some type of dampening and, I don't know.
Let's think about it.
To the drawing board.
To the drawing board.
After a little trial and error testing out different bows, Tim and I realized that we'd already built the perfect chariot bow.
Just off
Exactly, that was
repeating crossbow. Now, what we have here is number one, massively fine repeating crossbow. It is the best repeating crossbow ever made because, well, we made it. Yes, we were bored one afternoon. We were just kind of sitting around, and we said, let's do this thing. And what we did was we took a standard off-the-shelf stock crossbow, and we made it repeating.
Now, this ain't your everyday crossbow. We added a magazine and a pneumatic cocking system, sort of a machine gun approach to archery. This prototype performed quite well during its first deployment. It should be perfect.
A chariot bow isn't a regular bow. That would be unmanageable in such a confined space. Chariot archers needed a special type of bow.
For the millennia that led up to the New Kingdom, which is about 16th century BC in Egypt, they used these simple wooden bows. Now, the thing about a wooden bow is it has to be long. All wooden bows are long bows. You see these limbs, they have to come back as a spring. If I use a shorter wooden bow, you try and make it short, which is what you need for a chariot, after all, then what will happen with this, I think, is that it will break. And the answer was this, the angular bow. It's a composite bow. It's made of wood, laminated with horn and sinew, and that allows it to be pre-stressed into this shape. So it's holding energy, so you can get more power for less pull. In other words, the important thing about a spring is how fast these limbs return to zero. That determines the speed of the string and the speed of the arrow. So you get more power for less bow. And when I draw it to full draw, it will come into a perfect, beautiful arc. A little bit of archery magic. It's an incredibly powerful bow, a powerful spring, more powerful than this, and half the length, much more suitable for using on a chariot. Now, these composite bows are an art, and it's a lost art. But there is a man in North Carolina who still knows how to make them, and I'm going to see him.
It didn't take Tim and I very long to realize that a vehicle-mounted system would be a major advance over simply hand-holding the bow.
Well, that's the first problem. Here's the next problem. Watch this. Look at that. I mean, if we're doing this, then it doesn't matter, how rock solid our mount is and how much we can aim and point and shoot. If the whole, universe is going up and down, the whole universe is going up and down. How about a fluid head?
That's an idea. That would smooth things out.
I have a fluid head. Have I ever told you the story about the dead guy? Now, this is what is called a fluid head. It has a hydraulic dampening system in it. It's designed for a great big heavy camera, like a great big heavy camera like that one.
It's like an office chair.
Yeah, exactly. How is it like an office chair?
They have gas.
Oh, you mean like this?
They have gas springs. Yeah.
Right.
Something like that.
Yes. Wait. That's good. We want to use the orange mallet or the multi-mallet? That shouldn't affect the balance point, though. Oh, man, this thing is heavy. All right, I think the problem is we weren't pulling this little... There we go. Yay! Great, it works.
While Tim and Chad begin testing their support system, I'm in North Carolina visiting Lucas Novotny, a maker of ancient bows.
The angular bow.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me about this, Lucas. To me, this is the most unlikely shape engineering-wise, it doesn't seem very likely. It looks like it's going to break.
Yes and no, but it makes some sense, actually. From engineering point of view, it was very ingenious, because what that allowed to do is come up with a bow that's fairly short in comparison to all wood bow, which has to be long to allow for a good long draw.
This is joined in the middle.
Yes.
That, to me, again, it looks weak.
Actually, no joint here. This is one separate piece. All composite bows were actually, because that's the word composite, is a composition of many pieces. This is a skeleton of the bow right here, which is the wooden core. If we strung this, we wouldn't be able to pull it very far. But it is the platform and a foundation, the skeleton upon which you actually built.
So this is the skeleton?
Yes.
Now we need to give it some muscle.
Yes, now we need to give it some muscle. We need to give it some backbone and muscle. Anyway, here we have the horn. Already prepared.
Where does that horn come from?
Well, here we have a prime example. This particular piece of horn is from water buffalo. The bending portion of the limb is right about in this section, which is the most dense and the best part of the horn.
So obviously we need to get this evenly bonded under the same pressure.
Yes.
All along. How are we going to do that?
Well, let's go to the vise.
Over here?
Yes.
Okay. So we put the bow in the vise? Sort of.
We're going to use some modern spring clamps just to hold it in place. Obviously, the parts would be sized.
So by sized, you mean they would be already impregnated with the glue?
Yes, impregnated with the glue. Then we put a new, fresh coat of thicker glue. And then basically just a simple overhand nut. Tighten that. Step behind it. And here we go.
You can hear the tension that's in there. You can hear the fibers of the rope stretching.
So this gives us a very even distribution of the pressure, which is extremely important. Why don't you try it, Mike? Okay, take this.
I mean, I can feel the tension through my fingers here.
Yes.
It's like that sensitivity you have on a fishing line when you're fishing.
Yes.
You really can feel how much tension you're doing.
The repeating crossbow eliminates the problem of knocking an arrow while riding a bucking, bouncing chariot. The next step is finding a way to stabilize it.
You know, I'm not too worried about being able to aim left and right. But the real problem is, as I'm bouncing down the road, I mean, I'm sort of exaggerating it right now. I mean, but look at my barrel. You know, it kind of, you know, as my skeleton moves, you know, the gun is doing this. So there's no way I'm going to be able to sort of, you know, pick a point and stay on it while we're bouncing down the road. I mean, even a car with no suspension really has some suspension because it's got, you know, pneumatic tires like this. You know, you're going to get some, you know, bounce out of it. So that's going to help, you know, take out, you know, some of your little bumps, except for when you hit a brick wall. All right, so let's see if this thing, I'm going to pick a point on the horizon, and we'll see if it floats and stays there. Avast ye swabs! Hang on to it, hang on to it. Oh my God. Faster, faster, mush, mush! Alright, well that kind of is working not so good at all.
Good at all.
Newton tells us that, you know, if this object is right here, and if I go like that, you know, it wants to try and stay there.
It stays there from its own inertia, but you have this spring,
But the spring is pulling it back.
So you need a dampener.
Which is what that does.
That's the dampener.
All right, I get it. So what we need,
the inertia.
We need both of them. We need the spring to resist the motion and the dampener to counteract the effects of the spring.
All right.
All right, so
you've got to have something in this
now wait a second.
Pile of crap around.
There's two of these guys. Look at this guy. He's got that thing on his shoulder, and here's this guy with a fancy spring thing.
Check that out. See the springs there?
All right, come here, guys. Let's see what happens.
See, wait, it's got a dampener on there too.
Right. And now it's spinning around, but his lens right there, I can see it. All right, here's the real test.
Let's do a test.
The stairs. Come on. All right, fellas, let's see what you got. Who's the steadiest hand of them all? I don't know. Is it number one or is it number two? Number one, number two. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I pick you. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Steadicam. I think it's the way to go. Look, it even says it right there. Here, come on, guys, let's go downstairs. I want to see this thing.
What have you got now?
I think we've got the real test.
Oh, no.
All right, come on, let's see what this thing does. All right, you first. All right, you ready? All right, and a one, and a two. All right, Well, I can see right now that even if I try and stay with you. All right. Victim number 2, step right up. Right this way. All right. That thing looks pretty heavy, actually.
It is.
Well, yeah, but you gotta jump.
Look at this there.
Look at that.
How does that even work?
That is so cool, and that's the mass of the... Oh, okay, whoa. Look at that.
There's like no pressure on it.
I mean, if I do that to this guy, I mean, if I take him, I mean, don't help, no helping.
Now look at this. Okay, so there's like 1 pivot, 2 pivots, 3, 4, 5, and the gimbal. There's 6 pivots, 2 big springs.
We gotta find this guy. To the internet.
To the internet.
And beyond.
While Tim and Chad search the internet, I'm still in North Carolina putting the finishing touches on my angular bow.
Now here we've got a bow that you've taken to the next stage from what we just did because of the drying time. So we can see the core here, and you've already got horn strips laminated on both sides.
Yes, absolutely.
But of course this, when it's strung, actually goes this way. It doesn't string up like that.
It goes opposite. In fact, what we want to do is create even more reflex to store more energy. And most people don't realize it, but they think these bows being reflex-like so that they suspect that the bows actually will bend in that direction.
Because this isn't actually the stringing
No,
string.
absolutely not. This only helps us to reflex the bow even further.
The next stage is to pound animal sinew into fibers. Then, using a glue made from boiling the swim bladders of the sturgeon, we lay them on the bow.
Now we're going to soak them. We're going to squeeze out the excess. And now we're going to apply it.
Lucas painstakingly lays the sinew strands onto the bow, increasing its strength.
We want to make sure that everything is nice and straight.
So nothing's bundled, it's absolutely
there's
flat.
A slightly crooked one here. So we would want to straighten it out.
That is beautiful.
Once that is done, then they can be left strung for long periods of time.
That is beautiful.
Oftentimes they were carried with the arrows.
Draw it?
Yes, absolutely.
What a fantastic,
Can you feel how much energy is
powerful bow?
Yes, yes.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you very much
Well, you're
indeed,
welcome.
Lucas.
You're
That
very
was
welcome.
While Mike was finishing work on his bow, I tracked down the inventor of the Steadicam arm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or, as the locals call it, Philly. And there are 2 things one must do when visiting Philly. The first is run to the top of the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Modern Art, just like Rocky.
Philly, right?
Philly it is.
The city of brotherly.
And the second is eat a cheesesteak sandwich.
I'm never really sure if I'm in Pennsylvania or New Jersey.
What are we going to eat today?
Well, Pat's or Geno's?
Pat's,
Geno's or Pat's?
Pat's, Geno's.
I'm a Pat's fan.
I'll go to Geno's.
Give me one, too.
Want a milkshake?
Not today. So what'd you get? You got the Geno's?
I got the Geno's. How's yours?
Pretty good.
Let me see.
Cheese whiz. That's the secret.
Pat's, huh? Try Geno's. Oh, this is so much better.
It's the cheese whiz, I'm telling you. Let's try the bus. So, we're in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're here to meet Garrett Brown, the inventor of the Steadicam arm, a super nifty camera balancing apparatus. Now, he's adapted this device to a new line of industrial tool balancers, and he calls his new company Equipoise. So, here we are.
1,000 years ago, in the 1970s, cameraman Garrett Brown developed an ingenious mechanism that enabled him to run around with a movie camera and still get steady pictures. And he called it the Steadicam.
Hey, Chad, how are you? And you. Is that it?
This is it.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, Tim.
Nice to meet
How are
you.
Good. Wow.
Yeah, it's a monster.
Wow. That works a hell of a lot better than I would have guessed when I first laid eyes on it.
So, you've got some toys here, too, it looks like.
Yeah, this is, I asked my colleague Jerry Hallway to bring in his Steadicam. This is where we began with this whole notion of floating heavy loads. For cameras, you want to expand the thing so it's an inert object. which gets you access to the center of gravity.
Right.
And then, of course, it's too heavy to hold with your hands, so you give yourself a mechanical arm to float the weight. The fourth thing is you can't put your eye on the viewfinder, so you need a remote finder. Yeah.
So this is like a desk lamp.
Well,
Fancy one.
No, it actually, I stared at a desk lamp when I first invented this thing.
Brilliant.
What if that was upside down and sideways and strong enough and so on, yeah.
Ingenuity leap.
So you're thinking we'll take the crossbow and replace the camera with the crossbow?
Well, you know what? This little scheme has moved on from the Steadicam, and we're actually in the business of flying tools. So this is where we're headed with this technology. This is Equipoise's mission, and this is the new Equipoise arm, which is, since I wrote them, I have to say 4 or 5 patents further along, for the job of flying tools, of making tools weightless. So the arm's going to do that. If we can get this in the crossbow, right, then...
That needs to be at the center of gravity.
Or close.
First step in mounting the bow to the Equipoise arm is locating the bow's center of gravity. It's a little difficult mounting the bow inside the gimbal race. It's kind of tough to find a place for the mounting screws.
Tighten the last bolt.
Well, it's mounted. Now for some field tests to see if this device improves our ability to keep the weapon on target.
All right, so who's driving?
You want to try it? See if we can balance this thing? I don't like that.
That is so much better.
Okay, I'll be the chariot.
Yeah!
So now our repeating crossbow has some much needed support from the super nifty Equipoise zero gravity arm. But this device doesn't just support the weight of the weapon, it's also a suspension system which isolates the bow from the erratic motions of the chariot, which is bucking and bouncing underneath.
So we've got one thing solved, and that is it's isolated from the road vibration.
You know, I think it's almost too free, though. I mean, it's just any little...
It drifts around. It has nothing, there's not enough inertia to it.
I want to figure out how to keep the bow locked on target while bumping along rough, heavy terrain. And it seems to me that the modern tank does a pretty good job of doing just that. Tim and I are at the Wilcox Multi-Purpose Tank Range at Fort Knox to meet Master Gunner Peter Sorensen.
Welcome to Wilcox.
Tim, Pete, nice to meet you.
Master Gunner?
Master Gunner.
And this would be your gun.
This is my gun.
Pete's showing us tank crews running training exercises on the basic accuracy course.
And the stereos are all designed to force the crew to use essentially all weapon systems. They have to engage a certain number of targets within a time frame.
Another few months and these crews will have mastered the fire control system, which keeps the main gun on target as the tank travels at high speeds over rough terrain.
We need one of those. Do you have any spares?
No.
Do you have one we could climb on?
Yeah, I can go show you one right now.
What is the, the meat and potatoes of the system which is keeping this thing, on target as the tank is doing the do-si-do underneath it?
Well, the fire control system gets inputs from a series of gyroscopes. The electrical signal goes to the ballistic computers, which is the brains of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. The end result being your stabilized gun.
The gun just points there and stays there no matter what the tank does underneath it.
Correct.
Well, Tim, I think we got our work cut out for us. I learned a lot here, and I've got quite a few ideas.
I think that's a plan. It's a plan and a half.
Pete, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
So let's take a look at this. This bicycle wheel will help explain a little bit of physics.
All right, so at rest, it tries to be like that. The axis tries to point essentially up and down.
Okay, gravity is pulling it that way.
Right. Now, we can counteract the effects of gravity.
That's right.
That is really cool. So it'd be as if, but how are we going to get a bicycle wheel on the cross?
Ready on 3 and cue gyro expert, go.
Hey, there she is. Hi, Bobby. Tim, good to see you.
Hello. Must be Bobby Kenyon.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And you brought toys.
I bought toys.
What's in the box?
3 gyros.
Really?
Yeah.
You can see what's going on.
Right.
We got the weight dealt with, but now we gotta,
You got
Once
a
you let
wobble
go,
problem.
see when you let go,
it
drifts and it
wants
moves
to float.
around, and
Right.
we got issues with that.
Well, that's exactly
Can
what
you
the
straighten this
gyros
out?
do. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Come on in.
We got a table here.
They give you a hard time getting on airplanes with these things?
Yes.
So did you bring different kinds, or?
Yeah, we basically make 2 different size gyros, although 4 different kinds of gyros.
4 different kinds.
This is a 2.5-pound gyro.
Okay.
This will handle about 4 pounds worth of equipment.
Oh, that's not heavy at all.
No.
This is called a Kenyon 4? Kenyon 2?
Kenyon 4.
Kenyon 4. All right.
Then you get this little monster. This also has tungsten wheels.
Wow! What does that weigh?
5.5 pounds.
5.5
Now
pounds.
is most of the weight in the flywheel?
In the wheels. Yeah.
It feels like about
Absolutely.
50.
I know.
I mean, for its size.
And it can handle 12 pounds worth of equipment. This is what a KS4 looks like inside.
Now look at the way these two move differently. See, this one pivots here, and this one pivots there.
But they're still staying parallel to each other.
A 24-inch gyro like our bicycle wheel might be practical for a tank-sized weapon system, but it seems a bit large for our chariot bow. Now, by utilizing 2 small but relatively heavy flywheels spinning at 23,000 RPMs, these Kenyon motion stabilizers generate significant inertial resistance in a compact package. Check out this neat trick. Watch what happens when we take this gyro and stand it on end. Pretty cool the way it doesn't topple over, but rather just slowly walks itself down. Neat, huh? Now, when mounted to our free-floating crossbow, this inherent tendency to resist motion will help keep our weapon on target.
Well, Tim, this is exactly what we want.
This one is doing nothing.
Whether it's a good attitude or a bad attitude. Well, Tim, this is...
That's right.
And you were the bad driver who was all over the place.
Yeah.
Man, that is heavy.
Rolling? Yep.
That is so cool. Now it's starting to slow down.
Okay, here's one of them.
Okay.
With Bobby Kenyon's advice and consent, Tim and I wrangle the gyros onto the bow.
Fighting me. It's hard to even position it when it's spinning.
I know, that's what I was having that trouble earlier.
Very peculiar sensation.
So, let's pause for a moment and review. So what happens is the whole world is going up and down and bouncing, but yet our crossbow stays essentially aimed and pointed in the direction we've got it by adding gyroscopic stability to our system.
In the 9th century BC, the Assyrian Empire, centered on what is today northern Iraq, began its golden age, eclipsing both the Egyptians and the Hittites. And leading the charge of its hugely powerful war machine was the chariot archer. The chariot reigned supreme for nearly 1,000 years, but by the 7th century BC, they're building bigger, stronger horses. Enter the horse archer. First people to do this were the Assyrians. But they didn't just have horse and archer. They were still using the old chariot team ethos. They were still using a driver. Tommy, give me a hand, please. The chariot driver would ride alongside. He would take the reins. I'm riding bareback, saddle's not invented, and I'm free to shoot. Okay.
Whoa.
That is incredibly difficult. You've got no control of your own horse. And unsurprisingly, it didn't take long before they took the reins. Thanks, Tommy, but I'll do it myself from now on. Well, that's much easier. I'd rather ride a horse on its own any day. And you'll notice that I've not only changed my horse, I now have a saddle and stirrups. The stirrups came in much later, about 5th century AD. But I've also got a different bow. It's a recurve bow, much more powerful than the angular bow. And it completely superseded it, and we start to see the angular bow disappear altogether. Also, horse archers took over entirely on the battlefield, and it was the end of chariot archery.
So, we've got the equipoise isolation arm to insulate the bow from the shake, rattle, and roll of the chariot, and we've got the gyros to help keep it locked on target. And somewhere outside in the junk pile I call my front yard, I know I've got that chariot. But we've still got to put it all together, and as usual, I'm running out of time.
Where'd I put the screws?
The war chariot is a weapon of the plains and the desert. And so I've come to this sand quarry to set up a final test for Chad's machine. This is the Egyptian army that they're setting up here. So Chad and Tim will be the Chadites, and they've got to attack them. What I want to see is, can he do a wheeling charge? How many arrows can he drop into this zone coming up on this course? That's the test. I wonder if they're ready. I'm going to go and find out.
Arrows loaded.
Ben-Hur's got nothing on me. My chatty chariot bow is ready for action.
Hey, Mike.
How are you, Tim?
Hey, Mike.
What is this? I mean, I know you make things bigger, but this is 5-6 times the size of any known chariot. And it appears to be Roman.
Yeah, the Romans didn't have chariots?
Well, they did, but only little tiny racing machine chariots, and they didn't use them on the battlefield. But, you know, what's a millennia between friends? I guess it doesn't really matter.
They were having a sale at Chariots R Us, and,
Chariots R Us, okay.
and we got a good deal.
And this appears to be an old friend.
Yeah, this is the repeating crossbow.
We resurrected it.
Not exactly the angular bow.
No, but, you know, this thing did such a stellar job, you know, the first time we dragged it out that, you know, we were thinking, why not, you know, parlay that success into round two?
Well, I guess the magazine solves the knocking problem, which was the, you know, challenge A.
Yeah, certainly.
So it's a bow. I will let that go. But it appears to have some additions.
Indeed, it does.
We're supposed to improve this weapon.
Yes.
You can't improve the chariot without making a pickup truck. And you can't improve the bow without coming up with this thing we've already improved. So we went for the interface in between.
Yeah. This is fantastic.
This is a zero gravity arm, and you know, we adapted it to the crossbow with this gimbally yoke system here. Added a couple of these gyroscopes, which are used on binoculars, 35mm cameras, and stuff like
so that's
that.
kind of stabilizing it.
Yeah, you probably felt it here, that sort of inertial resistance.
Yeah, it's got a huge inertia.
Yeah,
I mean, to actually change it, you've got
exactly. You've really got to sort of put some effort into it.
So once you're locked on, you think you'll be pretty steady.
Theoretically, it'll tend to stay there.
And this will ride out the bumps.
We're not sure. We haven't tested it yet.
Well, I'm hugely impressed. It looks fantastic. It looks wonderful.
It does look fun, that's for sure.
Does it work is the big question.
I don't know. We're going to find out. You got something for us?
I have got something for you.
I'm ready.
Let you do your final tweaks.
Okay.
I'm just going to double check that we're set up. And when you're ready, head over that way.
All right.
Okay, here they come. Hopefully they haven't seen me. Now, I think they got a pretty good idea that they're going to be doing a wheeling charge. But what I want to remind them is, with this paintball bow, in reality, it'd be somebody shooting back.
Oi! Tim! What was that? Did you hear something?
Did you blow a tire?
Either that or we just took a hit.
You got a flat? What's going on
Sorry
here?
about that. Oh, well, that was you?
You.
That was me, yeah.
You again.
It's just a little paintball thing. You're going to do a wheeling charge.
Indeed.
See, there's my Egyptian army. You are the Chadites. You have to take them out.
Chadites, I like that.
But you need to bear in mind that in reality they would be shooting back at you. So no dawdling. A little bit of military urgency. Should we go to the start?
Yes.
Give me a lift,
Yes,
Tim.
please. It's kind of comfortable back here, actually.
Fast here and stop. Okay. This is your start position, gentlemen. As many arrows as you can into those Egyptians. Ready to roll?
Ready.
Roll it!
Okay. Nicely done.
Now, Chad has created a fantastic machine, although this mechanical horse is a bit, well, disappointing. But let's see if Chad himself has got a heavier foot than Tim. I'm thinking,
Yes.
all this series, you've had all the fun.
Yeah?
I think we ought to give Tim a go.
Yeah. What do you say, Tim?
You up for this, Tim?
I am indeed. All right, this is going to require some concentration here.
And Chad, a little bit more pedal. We're at war. Okay, we're going.
Way
Not
high.
bad, not
Way
bad.
high. Okay.
One. Yeah!
ramp down. You're good. Okay.
Chad's chariot bow has proven steady over the bumpy terrain, albeit slower than molasses.
Well, it may have been slow, but that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Just take it over there. Just bring it in here. And just stop around here. Okay, next challenge. Tim, do you want to come up and get this?
What do you got for us?
So, you successfully routed those infantry. That infantry block is split up there on the run. But you've got to seal the victory. So can you see how they're scattered out now? They're running away. And this is really where the chariot comes into its fore, chasing men down and sealing the victory.
Ooh,
So
mean.
by seal the victory, you mean add insult to injury.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And
Or actually add
right,
injury to insult.
right at the end is Ramses the Great.
You know, he's been really bothering me.
Oh, those
Really?
ancient Egyptians
Well,
make me so mad.
If you can get him, there's a little surprise. That's the big payoff.
I like that.
So who's shooting?
I'll flip for it.
Okay.
Yeah, you win.
I win.
Timaeus the
Okay.
Great. Okay.
3 cups.
Hey. Oh my God. That's a dead man, and we've run him over.
So to sum up, Chad's stabilising arm and gyros get the thumbs up for being so, well, so ingenious. And the repeating crossbow, well, it did solve the knocking issue. These were both good concepts. And after all, this was probably one of the most ambitious things that we've set Chad to build. Well, that is, until his next task.